Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and this is episode 271 of the world famous, the University Love, the best podcast in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, we just call it Online Marketing Moves. We are here to talk about affiliate marketing and all the things that it takes to run a successful online business. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there is more to business than just, you got to look at the whole machine, the nuts and the bolts from the inside to the outside. We discuss all things on this podcast. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today is Thursday, May the 6th, 2021. The time of this recording. Ladies and gentlemen, come on in. We have another jam-packed episode of Online Marketing Moves. Now, yesterday we talked about how to sort of, gaslight your content sometimes, shadowing somebody famous or somebody, YouTube famous or popular, I shouldn't say famous, but we'll say popular, how to siphon off some viewerships, how to get some eyeballs to your content. You know what I mean? So hope you enjoy the episode. And today we're going to talk about you selling information. But first, I have some sad news. Now, you all know I'm from the great state of Missouri. If you're listening to this out of the country, if you're listening to this in the United Kingdom or Germany or Australia or wherever you may be listening to this, Missouri is not New York and it ain't LA. You know what I mean? Now, Missouri is dab smack in the middle. So, I grew up in the state of Missouri, and I saw where the Anaheim Angels cut the great Albert Pujols. Now, if you watch baseball, then of course you know who Albert Pujols is. If you don't watch the baseball, then you missed out on a great career. Albert Pujols, I remember when he first signed to the Cardinals, and man, he was amazing. Like, I never was the biggest Cardinals fan, but watching Albert Pujols on a regular basis, I remember my dad, he's like, man, I can't stand him, but you know what? He can hit the ball. He had a Hall of Fame career. And I remember he went and he signed a 10-year, $40 million contract with the Anaheim Angels because the Cardinals didn't want to pay him. He had been there like 10, 11 years. And, St. Louis is sort of a smaller market, not the biggest market in the world. And they said, hey, we can't afford to pay you. And Albert Pujols said, well, I'm out of here. I'm going to Anaheim. And his career at Anaheim definitely wasn't the same, but nevertheless, Albert Pujols is going to the Hall of Fame. They cut him loose today. His time was up. He's 41 years old. And I'm like, man, it puts in perspective sometimes, Sometimes you have to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. You know what I mean? So, but Albert Pujols, nonetheless, a great career. When he does go into the Hall of Fame, I hope he goes in as a St. Louis Cardinal because he had his best years as a St. Louis Cardinal. So don't be a jerk, Albert Pujols. All right. But anyway, also, before we get started, I'm reading this book. It's called Managing God's Money. Now, I don't know your religion. I don't, you believe in what you want to believe in. I believe what I want to believe in. And we go about our lives. But this is a very interesting book. It's talking about how you manage money. It's a different perspective on the way to look at things about when it comes to money. Because, in my past, in my early 20s, teens, when I first joined the military, I could save money, but I really didn't know how to generate the money that I would save into more money. You know what I mean? But it's very interesting. As if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, in the last year of my life, I have definitely started reading more about the Bible and, more into, sort of getting my religion on, you know what I mean? But it talks about how it's weird because you never hear this kind of stuff, People love to tell you the same phrase, people used to tell me, when I would tell them about money and trying to make more money, because I didn't grow up the richest guy in the world. So of course, when you do not have something, you definitely become a little more fascinated by it. And money, not that I'm obsessed with money, but I'd rather have enough money to where I don't have to worry about money than because the old people love to say money is the root of all evil. It's love of money is the root of all evil, not if you have enough money. You know what I mean? Like if you have enough money and you're happy with yourself, it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind. But I started reading this book. It's called Managing God's Money by a guy named Randy Alcorn. It's a very good book, interesting book. It talks about how God wants you to, God doesn't want you to spend frivolous, you know what I mean? Like I'm assuming that what they mean is not I'm about 40% of the way into the book. So I still have a ways to go. But I just wanted to talk about it because, it's very interesting. And I'm assuming that what they mean is if you can afford to buy a car, don't if you can afford to buy a nice car, don't go out and try to, get all into debt buying a Lamborghini. If you can afford a nice, Kia Optima or something like that, you know what I mean? So, you know, spend what you got, but don't go out here running up credit cards and all that kind of stuff. And it's so funny because I read this other book last week about from Dave Ramsey about managing money, and Dave Ramsey he used he used a lot of Christian like principles in his books, and I thought it's kind of interesting. But you know, do what you want with that information. All that stuff is interesting. One thing I will tell you, I will share with you is if you're young, it doesn't matter, young or old, try to get out of debt. Try to stay out of debt and get out of debt as quick as possible because you don't want to. The one thing I will say is, I bought this. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And the one thing that I can agree with, I mean, they say is it's not about making $1,000,000, but if you don't have like a lot of debt, and you making money online, then you might not have to keep working. You know what I mean? Like you might not have to if you can get it to. Now I'm not saying live like a miser or nothing like that. However you want to live is however you want to live. But if you can get it to where you're making enough money off, the online stuff or maybe rental properties, all that stuff, and you don't have to go get a job, then hey, you know what? Congratulations. You know what I mean? Like who like I like working and all that stuff, but I've done it long enough. I'm tired of it now. So I want to work for myself, you know what I mean? So that's just me. And I hope you can get there. But just remember, the less debt you have, the quicker you can get to that point. You know what I mean? So take that how you want. Now, anyway, today, and if you have enough, and if you have a, oh yeah, before we get started, I'm going to tell you, I listened to this Planet Money podcast, and if you don't, Planet Money is NPR. It's the NPR podcast, and they discussed yesterday reparations. Now, if you don't know what reparations are, I don't know. I guess it's a slippery slope to me. It's I don't know. Like here in America, you know, I'm a black man. I'm an African American fella, and clearly you can see that by the picture, right? Of course. But anyway, so it was a young lady in Vermont, and she thought that she should start trying to get reparations for black people in Vermont. So I think her and her friend or somebody, they wrote up this thing, and they said that like white people should give money money to just random black people, and they wanted to call it reparations, which me personally, I thought that was crazy. And I said, why would I want to give money to strangers? You know what I mean? Like why? And then they were saying, don't donate $50. Donate something that hurts. No. Okay? Because and this time, I'm not saying of course, I donate to charities and all that kind of stuff. And if you donate to charities, that's great. But you know where the money's going. You have you have these things where you can, you know, do like they have Charity Watch and Charity Navigator and all that kind of stuff that you can, see where these charities spend money. Now I'm not saying that And I believe that the government or whatever, if they're going to do reparations, that's a government thing. That's not a, hey, just because you're white, you should give me money because I'm black. Like, that's insane. That's ridiculous to me. But because me personally, I told my wife, I said, I would never. I said I would tell him, get out of here. And it's funny because they said one guy, and then they was like, Cash App and VMO people, and some people was actually doing it. Like this lady said she gave $4,000, and I thought, I'm black, and I'm like, nah, I'm good on that one. But but one guy, he was sending people requests for money, not giving money away. I thought that was kind of funny, but you know, I just thought to myself, that is crazy. And the whole reparation thing is a slippery slope. And the whole, you owe, nobody owes anybody anything these days. Like, you can't. I'm not gonna sit here and knock on my neighbor's door and just say, hey man, you're white, you owe me money. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, you should check out that podcast and listen to it and let me know what you think, because I thought it was insane. And let me know what you think about it. But now we're going to get down to the meat and potatoes of this podcast episode. We're going to talk about you information and you selling the information. Okay. It doesn't matter what niche, it doesn't matter what you are doing online. If you have information, if you come up with information, you have knowledge about something, you can always share it and you can always sell it. People want information. People don't. A lot of people, listen, I always tell you to go do your research, but a lot of people do not want to do research. A lot of people, they want to find somebody that they like, find somebody that they trust, and then they get the information from them. And you, ladies and gentlemen, can be that person that sells people information. The information business is booming. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what you do. I saw a guy he was selling a course about being a Lyft driver. Okay. So there are plenty of ways that you can sell information. And I don't want you to, feel like, I don't know anything. I don't know this. I don't know that. You know enough. You know plenty. Okay. All you have to do is do some research. If you have general knowledge, you know, you might have to sell it at a lower point, but if you have specialized knowledge, you can always sell it at a higher point. But the point is, people love getting information. People love to learn these days. People love to learn more now than ever before, because for some reason, now, of course, we talk about this all the time on this podcast. If you listen to this podcast, I recommend you take action on anything you do. You learn something for a little bit, and then you go take action. Don't sit around. But there's a lot of people who just love to learn and then learn and then learn and then learn. Now, should you take advantage of the situation? I don't know. But if you have a course, if you come up with a course, make a course, and you sell it to people, and they love the information, they'll come back and they'll buy more stuff. So you should think about that. And you can sell your information as high as you want, as low as you want. That's up to you. It just depends on where you're at. Now, if you're first starting off, if this is your first course, I don't recommend you selling it for $500. Try to find a mid-range price, 100, 200, 300, up to $500, $700, something like that. It doesn't have to be a course. It can be a book. It could be a whatever. But the point is, gather up the information, package the information in however form you want to, and then sell it. And that is another way to establish yourself as an online presence. You know what I mean? And you would definitely start making money while you sleep, because you can eventually. This would be a great goal for you. Let's say you start making content, and then you build up a nice size audience. Doesn't have to be the biggest audience. You want, at the end of the day, the goal for you. All right, and we're talking money now. We're not talking. You don't if you got 40 million if you got 40 million subscribers to a YouTube channel, but you can't monetize, if you can't monetize off of it, then what's the point of having it? You know what I mean? So you want an engaged audience. That's the goal, you know. Have you figure that part out. You get an engaged audience. You know what I mean? And there's different ways to get there. But you want an engaged audience. You want an audience that's gonna buy. You don't want the kind of audience I had when I first got started. It was crap. I'm not calling them crap, but it was crap. Well, I might be calling them crap. They was non-buyers, a lot of them, you know. And I would do an ad, you know. I would do a Facebook ad, or I would, you know, try to do a video. And I would always hear the same thing. Oh, it's great info, great info, great info. And I'm like, all right, great info, but are they gonna buy now? And they never would buy it. I'm like, you know, what can I do? But the reason why they wasn't buying is because I was talking to the wrong audience. I was talking to a non-buying audience. I was talking to a audience that wasn't gonna buy. It doesn't matter. They was freebie. They was looking for the freebie, you know, all the time. Everything had to be free. Everything had to be free. You know, and these are the type of people, if you don't give them something free, they're like, oh, this guy must be a scam. It's gotta be a scam. So, you know, in the beginning, you might have trouble, you know, establishing a paying audience, but eventually you will get there, and you will get an engaged audience. You will get an audience who wants to buy some of your products, you know, and of course, we talked about this before. You can go back to you can go back to a lot of these podcasts that we have downloaded in the last 8-9 months. And we talk about this, you know, you want eventually to create your own universe. This is the goal. Because it's not just about it's not just about a one night stand anymore. You know what I mean? You want customers for the long term. You want customers who's going to come back, because it's easier to keep a customer that's already bought from you than trying to gain a new customer. So, you know, you sell the information one time, they enjoy the information. You can always come back and do it over and over again. And it doesn't matter. Listen, if you know at the top, like, I watch soccer. I'm not Alexi Lawless. Like, I don't know soccer front end to back end. But I know enough to get by. I know enough to talk to you about it. So if I was like, hey, I'm doing a soccer thing, you know, if I want to write a little PDF about soccer, I could get away with that. I could do it. But then I would do more research, you know, and fill in the gaps that I don't know about. You know what I mean? So this is the same for you. If you have some information and you're like, all right, I think I can do this, XYZ, then go do a little research, fill in the space, and make the picture whole, and then you can sell the information. Information is power, you know what I mean? Like, and if you are willing to sell this information, then you would definitely see your pockets increase. You would definitely see monies rolling in. You know what I mean? I saw one time a few months ago, I think, like, somebody was trying to teach people how to share their information. I'm like, why do you need to buy a course about sharing your information? You know, all you have to do is, you know, if you want to talk about sports, you know, you want to start a podcast about sports, and then do that. And then eventually you can write a book. Like, I have an article to write, you know, how to build a podcast from scratch. That's an article I'm going to write. It writes itself. Why? Because I built a podcast from scratch. You know what I mean? Like, we have an audience. We have people listening. People, when I download it, I upload it, people download it within the first hour now. You know, we have that going. It used to take a little while. Now it doesn't take as long, you know. So it's growing, it's building, you know, and it came from nothing, but we're building it. And it could be the same for you. You don't have to have the astute knowledge. In the beginning, I didn't know anything. I knew I knew how to listen to a podcast, but I didn't know how to create one. I didn't know how to build one, and then how to grow an audience, and didn't know any of that. But here we are now. So now I have information that I can sell to other people who might want to start a podcast. And that's how you have to look at things. And tonight, I recommend that you do this. If you know things, if you have a knowledge about something or you're curious about things, write that stuff down and then put down information that eventually I can sell, information that I want to sell, and figure all that stuff out and curate, create a product, create a package that you can sell and that you can monetize off of. Because, man, everybody that listens to this podcast, I want you to be successful. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to make a few bucks. I want you to be happy and make a few dollars. Hey, are we gonna get? Are we all gonna get Bill Gates money from all this online stuff? No, but we could carve out a living. You could carve out a living for yourself, and that would be an outstanding thing. You know what I mean? So go out there. Definitely, I'm telling you, the more you write stuff down, the easier your life will be. I write everything down now. I do not try to keep it trapped in my mind because I would definitely, because as I told you before, I told you the story. I had an idea, and I was like, I was driving. And I was like, man, I don't have a pen or paper, and I was like, I'll memorize it. It's only 30 minutes. By the time I got to the place, I forgot everything that I thought about. I was like, man, see, I need my paper handy. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you write things down, you'll be better off. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the podcast. Get out there, figure out what you're good at, figure out what you have a knowledge of, and then try to curate, create, and sell it for some profit, ladies and gentlemen, because we are in a for-profit business. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for the podcast today. We'll be back tomorrow with the all-new episode of Online Marketing Moves. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, if you haven't told a friend, you haven't told your mother, your brother, your father, your sister, your cousin about the podcast, then please do. We are the best podcast in the galaxy, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody should know it. All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's it for the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will be back tomorrow with the all-new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rizzano. Take care of yourselves. And as always, everybody, peace.